the kind of responsibility that the developed world is expected to share, do you think that's happening, or it's still a long way to go?
Unfortunately, not enough. The financing, as I said, the financing, technological support, and the capacity building that is required is still not happening at the level and the urgency that is required. But recently, we have seen many countries have doubled their contributions to the Green Climate Fund, the GCF, for the replenishment of that fund, which is required to be at 100 billion starting next year. Right. So that's still a big gap there. Where it hasn't happened. But then again, as I said, the various initiatives and milestones, the climate summit, and then the COP this year, and next year's enhancement of NDCs, all of those will be calling everyone to start taking taking the actions very, very seriously.
So this 100 billion target is set for which year? Is that 2020?
Starting 2020, yes.
Okay. And where are we at this point?
At this point, the GCF, I think it's not there. I think maybe about 10 to 20% of that level. But they, as I said, many countries have doubled their allocations. So we'll be closely monitoring that.
So from the Global Climate Action Summit that just happened, do we see any, resurgence in that area?
Yes, there were actually many countries. I think I don't have the exact details with me, but France was at the forefront of it, and Qatar and a few other countries. They really stepped up and doubled and promised and committed, significant pledges to the GCF.
Okay, great. So that brings me to the next question. You would have seen that gradually the younger generation is becoming more and more aware, and with the movement that Greta Thunberg has started, it seems like this is the high time they are demanding for what they deserve. And I mean, our generation as well as the elder generation, whatever harm we have done, it is time for us to take responsibility and be answerable to those questions. However, do you think that approach of activism, is that right? I mean, or it could be done a bit differently. What's your take on that?
I personally believe, I think every action, every person in the world has a role to play. So, and the younger generation has particularly woken up the rest of the world to the emergency, to the importance of addressing climate change, and that is because it's their future which matters. I mean, we, and in my generation, you're still very young, but we have lived, and we need to hand over an environment which is much more responsible, greener, and decarbonized to the future generations, and that's what we are working towards. So what has happened with Greta Thunberg, who started this, and many other youth around the world who have joined that, is absolutely credible and incredible in terms of its impact, and it has, I think, served its purpose or beyond in raising the awareness in many circles, and given a boost to the governmental or intergovernmental process to take action. Therefore, the Secretary General, he was very clear in his statement at the SG Summit, where he said, you cannot negotiate with nature. And it's the younger generation who are calling us to take action. We cannot ignore. We need to respond. So again, as I said, I repeat, we have a huge moral and ethical responsibility to take this call very, very seriously, which we do in our Secretariat.
So when it comes to the policies and initiatives and collaboration at the governmental level, I'm sure that United Nations is well equipped and doing its part. But when it comes to individual behavioral change, what kind of initiatives are we trying to drive?
Look, there are many initiatives, and that is happening. And wherever I have been in different fora, I make it a point to reach out to the civil society, to the younger generation, to the youth in particular, and there are absolutely amazing, innovative initiatives there are out there which need to be enhanced and scaled up. So there is no short of ideas and enthusiasm. So we in the United Nations climate change process, we have a global climate action program,
Right.
in which we call for these kind of innovative actions and go through a process of awarding those which meet the highest standards and highest test of action and results and output. So that is happening, and we're doing more of those. You would see very recently in our website, we announced the winners of the Momentum for Change action that we organize and run. And those are, you will see, and those include from food, the way we consume food, the choice of food we make it every day, the habits, the transportation habits, how we, commute, travel by air, sea, and other means of transport, and infrastructure is extremely important. And at the bottom, at the basic level, we need to move away from coal, fossil fuel, gas, those kind of damaging substances that are creating this, and to, very importantly, to also start disinvesting in coal and coal-fired plants, and stopping subsidies to those fossil fuel industries. So those are the very concrete, very measurable actions that we can all take in our own individual level. So those are some of the more concrete areas that I can think of.
So is there any steady roadmap that you would like to discuss, which has been adopted by UNFCCC?
Well, the roadmap, as I said, it started with Paris Agreement is the major turning point, and then the rule book last year, and then now the process of enhancing those NDCs, the nationally determined contributions. And we have some fantastic opportunities to enhance that and to remind everyone and to take stock of where we are. One recently was the Climate Action Summit, December in COP, and next year the COP would be in the UK, and they are also showing tremendous sort of capacity and vision in addressing this existential threat. And in the midst of all that, we are seeing many countries in the region, the European Union, Costa Rica, Bhutan, and many of those countries who are leading by example.
Right.
They are implementing very robust, very strong measures to address the threats. On the one hand, reducing the emissions, and then reversing some of the trends that would lead us to a carbon neutral world. But all of that still, those are good paths that we need to trek and follow, but there is a lot more that needs to be done, and that's which concerns me at times, and it keeps us going though.
So I'm sure that you're aware of the world of entrepreneurship, where so many startups are coming up, especially if I tell you the tale of India. Even in the realm of sustainability, the problems around water, energy, waste, transportation, for everything we have, so many startups coming up with new innovative solutions. So at this world forum where we have so many, accomplished leaders like you who are driving this change, how would we want to be inclusive in taking the startup ecosystem in solving the climate crisis?
Well, from our perspective in the climate change process and the organization that I belong to, what I would recommend is that you, all those innovators and startups who are doing many incredible and innovative things, to look at our process, become observers to the organizer, to the process, and showcase your products, your ideas at the COP and at the other fora that we conduct and organize throughout the year in many different ways. So that is definitely one platform. And then get engaged with our Global Climate Action Program, in which you have the Action for Climate Empowerment, the Momentum for Change, and many other initiatives like that. So there are definitely many possibilities, and the action by the civil society is extremely important, and they play an extremely important role at all the COPs. And we are, as we speak, we are working with the Chilean government to ensure that constituency, which is an extremely important constituency. In our constituency, you have the member states, the parties, but then you have the civil society, the private sector, and the individuals.
Right.
So all those constituencies are extremely important, and there is space for each one of those in our process. So do look us up, and you will find a lot of useful information on our website, and we'll welcome any engagement that we can help with. And just to wrap that up, I mean, when you talk about startups and innovations, and I would use your own example of BuzzOnEarth, what you have done, what you have created. So that is a very good example. So, and what we are doing here, talking about how we can address and amplify that messaging. So there are definitely many avenues such as this.
Thank you. And that was an encouraging remark. So thank you, Mr. Sarmad. It was really a pleasure talking to you. And thank you for such articulate answers and all the information that you shared with us.
Thank you very much, Gayatri, and I wish you all the very best. Keep up your good work.